A U.S. drone was spotted guiding missiles that left multiple people dead in Russian territory. Russia is holding the United States directly responsible after multiple people were left dead on a beach in Russian territory after a missile strike. This past weekend, Ukraine decided to strike a beach in Crimea using US weapons. The missile strike left 4 people dead and over 150 civilians injured. And the Kremlin has already made it very clear they know exactly who to blame. Kremlin spokesperson came out and said, "We understand perfectly well who is behind it, who targets these technically sophisticated missiles. It is not the Ukrainians who provide for these launches." The Kremlin also came out and said that the US not only supplies these arms to Kiev, but the US specialists help oversee the flight path and also uses special US spy satellites to help these missiles find their targets. It was only just a couple of weeks ago where Ukraine was begging the United States to allow them to use their United States provided weapons in Russian territories and against Russian targets, and Biden allowed them to. The US isn't merely complicit in the way that their weapons have been used, but they're directly responsible for the deaths of civilians and injuries to civilians in Russian territory. What makes this even more despicable is that a Ukrainian government official said that there are no victims in Crimea, only civilian occupiers. He said there are no beaches, tourist zones, or other fictitious signs of peaceful life in Crimea, and there cannot be. Basically, it sounds like dude called up Netanyahu for his talking points. But of course, the United States is still going to somehow try to convince you that the country that is directly targeting civilians and then claiming there's no such thing as a civilian target, they're the good guys. But what's even crazier is the fact that the United States would allow this knowing the escalation that could come after. Because I just find it weird that they just passed some legislation about shoring up the draft. The elections are coming up, and everybody knows, at least in the United States, for the most part, wartime presidents don't lose. Putin engages in a military partnership with North Korea, and we all know whenever things aren't going the way that the United States wants, they just start a war. And that looks like by providing these weapons to Ukraine to attack civilian targets in Russia, of all places, that's exactly what they're trying to do. I don't know what their end goal is, but I can tell you the only thing that they're going to accomplish is making sure more countries side with Russia, leave the Western power axis, and join BRICS.